You hear that? That's where every great song starts. Not in a professional studio, not with a perfect tuned guitar, not with a crystal clear idea. It starts with that, a rough, unpolished, barely there voice memo on your phone at 11 p.m. And somewhere between that moment and a finished release song, most people get stuck. Completely, permanently. Today I'm going to walk you through the entire journey from that first voice memo to a finished track. And at every single phase, I'm going to tell you exactly where people fall off. And more importantly, how to push through. I'm going to use a real example from a real song I just finished, a song called Unarmored. Part of a project called BardScore. More on that in a minute. Because the difference between artists who finish songs and artists who don't isn't talent. It isn't gear, it isn't time. It's knowing how to handle the resistance. Let's go. It always starts with something small. A melody in your head, on the way to work, a chord progression that just feels right, a line of lyrics that pops up out of nowhere. And most people let it disappear. They think, I will remember that later, or worse, it's not good enough to write down. Here's the truth. Your job is, in this phase, not to create something good. Your job is to capture something real. Put out your phone, hum it, play it, whisper it. It doesn't matter how rough it sounds. That right there, that is the song. Everything else is just bringing it out. Sometimes the idea doesn't even come from you directly. Something it's handed to you, a brief, a theme, a feeling someone else wants to express. That's actually a fascinating creative constraint. And I show you how that played out with Unarmored. The inner critic shows up immediately. This sounds stupid. This has been done before. Why bother? And here's my tip. Try separate the creator from the critic. Right now you're in creator mode. The critic doesn't get a vote yet. Capture everything. Judge nothing. Fill your notes app with garbage because buried in that garbage is gold. Now you take that raw idea and start giving it a skeleton. What's the chord progression? What's the basic melody? Where does the verse go? Where does the chorus hit? This is where you start to feel the shape of the song. And it's genuinely exciting for about 20 minutes. Then something shifts. You start comparing it to other songs. You think the chord progression is too basic, or every song has this. This isn't original enough. For Unarmored, Teen and I had a concept handed to us by the song sponsor. And this was actually liberating. We weren't waiting for inspiration. We had a direction. The question was just, what does it sound like? Comparison kills momentum faster than anything else. You are measuring your rough sketch against someone else's finished masterpiece. That's not a fair fight, and it never will be. Tip: in this phase, the only question that matters is, does this song mean something to you? Not to your followers, not to the algorithm, not to your favorite artists. To you. If the answer is yes, keep going. That meaning is what will carry you through every hard phase ahead. I want to pause here and give you the full picture of what this song actually is. Because it's a great example of everything I'm talking about. Earlier this year, my collaborator Tini and I launched a crowdfunding campaign called BardScore. The concept: take the music of classic fantasy bard, kind of tavern stories, not tavern songs, and hear it. You hear in a D&D game, and reimagine it with a fully cinematic orchestral sound. One of the things that made BardScore special was the backers could become song sponsors. They'd claim a track, give us a theme or a concept, and Tini and I would bring it to life. The creative execution was entirely ours, but the seed came from someone else. Unarmored, this is the song we're talking about, came from one of those sponsorships. The person who sponsored it gave us a theme: vulnerability, the exhaustion of always being strong, and finally choosing to lay it down. Tini wrote the lyrics, and she did something I think is generally very rare. She wrote something completely at home in the fantasy world, a warrior removing her armor, but that carries a very real, very human weight for the person who inspired it. Here's what she wrote. I've learned to love the dead of night, the soothing silent darkness brings. How people's very scarce all things are smoothed by gentle candlelight. The light of day is harsh and cruel, brings pain and tasks that never end. I put on armor to withstand, afraid of both halt and renewal. My loneliness disguised as strength, my fear a blade in tired hands, my armor so heavy after all these years. I can't bear it anymore, my soul is aching, my body is sore, but how can I let go of the only thing I know that I've fought so hard for? From this day on, I refuse to hide my tears behind a mask. To lose oneself, too much to ask. Freedom only thrives in truth. My loneliness disguised as strength, and the chorus. And now a bridge. Layer by layer, I peel away the armor that's weighing me down, replace the blade with an outstretched hand, and the mask with a glorious crown. No need to bear it anymore. My soul is healing, growing stronger than before. I can finally let go of the pain I used to know. Without this burden, I'm ready to go. What I love about these lyrics, and what I think makes great fantasy songwriting, is that the armor is real. It's a fantasy image, but it maps directly onto something the sponsor was carrying in their actual life. That's the power in the journal. You can say things wrapped in a metaphor that you might not be able to say on any other way. Anyway, that's the song. Now let's talk about how we actually made it. For a lot of people, this is where the real battle begins, because now it's personal. You're taking something you feel and trying to put it into words, and words are hard. You write a line, you hate it. You write another, you hate that one too. You start over. You rewrite the first line 30 times. 2 hours later, you have half a verse and a headache. Sounds familiar? For Unarmored, this phase belonged to Tini. She took the sponsor's concept, vulnerability, exhaustion, letting go, and found the fantasy vessel for it. The warrior, the armor, the crown. What strikes me about her approach is that she didn't start with perfect lines. She started with the feeling and then worked backwards to the words. The first draft gave her the shape, rewriting gave her the sharpness. Perfectionism. The obsession with writing the perfect lyric before moving on. It paralyzes you completely. Tip: write drunk, edit sober, metaphorical speaking. Get your first draft out fast. Don't stop, don't delete, don't reread. Just write, even if it's terrible, even if it's cliché, even if it rhymes hard with a fart. Get it all out first time. The first draft is not the song. The first draft is the raw material you sculpt later. Done is infinitely better than perfect at this stage. Now we're in the studio, and this is where the song starts becoming something real. In this phase, I build out the bones of the production, a working sketch of what the song could be. Tempos, keys, a rough harmonic structure, maybe some basic strings and pads to feel the emotional arc. And it's also where a lot of producers disappear into a black hole. You spend an hour finding the right snare. You open 12 different synth plugins looking for that pad sound. 3 hours later, your track sounds exactly the same as when you started. Welcome to plugin hopping, one of the biggest productivity killers in music production. Too many options cause paralyzers. The infinite freedom of a DAW can actually work against you. Tip: use constraints as creative tools. Give yourself a rule: 1 hour for the demo. Only 3 instruments in the sketch. No new plugins until the structure is locked. Constraints feel restrictive, but they force decisions, and decisions are what create finished songs. Limitation breaks creativity. Now it's time to record. For Unarmored, I have to be honest. This was one of my favorite phases in the whole project, because for once I wasn't the one in front of the microphone. Tini sang, and my job was simply to be the engineer, to set up the room, dial in the sound, make sure the space felt right, and then get out of the way. There's something really special about being on that side of the glass. You stop worrying about your own performance and just listen, really listen. And I can tell you, hearing Tini bring those lyrics to life, the lines she wrote, the space we built, that's the moment a song stops being a project and starts being a thing that exists in the world. Hating the sound of your own voice or your own playing is almost universal. It's not a sign that you are bad, it's a sign that your ears are ahead of your execution, which means you are growing. Tip: separate the performer from the producer. When you're recording, your only job is to perform. Commit to it. Go for it. Don't stop to judge. After you've recorded, then you put the producer hat back on and evaluate. The best takes usually happen when you stop trying to be perfect and just let yourself feel the song. With the vocals recorded, I move into full arrangement mode. This is one of my favorite phases and also one of the most dangerous. The orchestral parts go in as MIDI first. String, brass, woodwinds, I write and place them in the piano roll, shaping the emotional arc, where it swells, where it pulls back, where it breathes. Then comes the live layer. Guitars, something other, string instruments, percussion. I set up microphone and just play, completely uncensored. In that arrangement mode, I record everything that comes to my mind. Every idea, every instinct, even the ones that seem too much or too strange. I don't filter, I don't judge, I just play and capture. Because you can always cut. You can never unloose an idea you didn't record. The result is usually a sprawling, layered, somewhat over-the-top arrangement. And that's exactly how it should be at this stage. Arrangement is where perfectionism and creative freedom are in direct conflict. If you start editing while you're still arranging, you kill ideas before they have a chance to become something. Tip: keep creative mode and editing mode strictly separate. Arrange the door open. Record everything. Edit with the door closed. Cut ruthlessly. The two modes need different headspaces, and mixing them stalls your momentum completely. Now the arrangement is locked. Time to commit. First, I bounce all MIDI tracks to audio. Every virtual instrument gets rendered to a real audio file. That lightens the CPU and it forces a mental shift. These parts are now fixed. The composition phase is done. Then I step back and listen to the whole thing. And almost always what I hear is too much. Remember that uncensored arrangement? All those layers recorded without filtering? Now I look at it with fresh ears and a producer's eye, and I start cutting. A string line that doubles the vocal melody and doesn't add anything? Gone. A percussion layer cluttering the chorus? Muted. A guitar phrase in the bridge that feels clever but pulls focus? Cut. Thinning the arrangement is not a failure. It's the arrangement finally becoming honest. Then the mix begins. Levels, panning, IQ dynamics, making space for every element that deserves to be heard. The song never sounds done. You go back and change the vocal level. Then the snare bothers you. Then the bass feels too loud. You compare it to a reference track and everything sounds wrong. You tweak and tweak and tweak. Weeks pass. The song sits at 95%, never release. Tip: songs don't get finished, they get released. Set a hard deadline. No, not to release when it's ready. That day never comes. Pick a date, commit to it, tell someone, and when that day comes, you let it go. The version that exists is infinitely better than the perfect version that never will.
Layer by layer I peel away the armor that's weighing me down. Replace the blade with an outstretched hand, and the mask with a glorious crown. No need to bear it anymore. My soul is healing, stronger than before. I can finally let go of the pain I used to know. Without this burden, I'm ready to soar.
You've made it. The song is done. All you have to do is hit upload. And this is where some people sit for weeks, because releasing a song means other people can hear it. They can judge it, they can scroll past it, they can say nothing. The silence after a release can feel like rejection, even when it wasn't or isn't. For Unarmored, the person who sponsored this song, who handed us a theme and trusted us with it, gets to finally hear what became of their idea. And that's both beautiful and terrifying. And you just have to do it anyway. Critical point. Fear of judgment is the final boss. And it stops more songs from ever being heard than any technical problem ever could. Here's a reframe that genuinely helps. The song is not you. Erection to your song is not a verdict on your worth as a human or being an artist. Tip: here's a reframe that genuinely helps. The song is not you. Erection to your song is not a verdict on your worth as a human being or as an artist. It's just a data point. Some people will connect with it deeply, some won't. That's true of every song ever made, including the ones you love most. The only way to get better is to release, observe, and keep going. Hit upload, breathe, and start the next song. Every single one of those phases has a moment where you want to quit, where it doesn't sound right, or feel right, or seem worth it. And the artists who finish songs aren't the ones who don't feel that. They are the ones who feel it and keep going anyway. For Teeny Me, that song was Unarmored, part of BardScore, built from a stranger's idea through every wall in this video, all the way to a finished track on a real album. A song about taking off the armor, which, if you think about it, is exactly what finished and releasing a song requires. Speaking of which, that album BardScore From the Ashes is out soon. If you backed the crowdfunding, you already know where to find it. And if you didn't, the link is in the description. So, from the voice memo, to the chord progression, to the lyrics, to the demo, to the vocal session, to the orchestral arrangement, to the mix, to the release, every phase has a wall, and every wall can be climbed. So tell me, which phase do you get stuck most often, and why? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and your answer might be just the topic to my next video. Subscribe and hit the bell. See you in the next one. Bye.